Hey guys, it's day 217, and if you can't tell, it's cost me some long nights, but I have the very first rough version of Project Wiverna ready, just barely ready for some feedback. So let's jump into the week. So last week I told you guys that I gave myself permission to build again to kind of get my morale back up and give me a boost. So I've been working every day really hard on this new idea. I'm still spending part of every day trying to connect with other founders and trying to help them. So I'm chiming in on my founder group, MicroConf Connect on Slack, and I'm trying to also connect with people on social. So the project that I started is called Project Wiverna. It's just a code name. I like to use code names in the beginnings of building something because the actual code needs a name so you can organize everything. And ideally, I want to name a product after I've had the first validation from customers, and you want a name to reflect the value that people are seeing in it. So this has been a really intense building week for me. A lot of late nights. This is fast coding, so there's no time to hem and haw about how best to do each piece of this. I am leaning on some past experience to avoid mistakes and just rolling with the best version I can do. So basically what I'm trying to do is get the idea out of my head and into functionality that people can touch and use. And the code behind it, nobody sees it but me. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's going to evolve over time if it's destined to survive anyway. While we want to have clean code, the most important thing is putting something into the universe. I should say that this is hard for me as an engineer. I've had to learn to live with this uncomfortability, knowing that this code is not as well tested as I want it to be, is not as well organized as I want it to be. But again, the point is not to have clean code right now. The point is to have a product that people want to buy. So what is Project Wiverna? Basically, it is a burn rate project. It's a runway project. How much runway do you have left? It takes your expenses, it takes your income over time and does projections, and it shows you how your money is being spent, how much you're losing each month, and how long you can go before you run out of money. And the goal right now is just to get the idea expressed in the most limited way possible. There's no saving right now. The page just loads with the data. You can make edits and then you lose it when you refresh the page. I just want to have something I can share with people and get that first feedback, just that first gut reaction to it. And then the next steps will be to put some basic Rails around it, so some like help text, and let it save locally into the browser, not necessarily in the cloud, just somewhere in the browser so that it's not transient data. And then I can share that with a wider audience and get more feedback and see if this thing has legs enough to actually build out. I thought I'd talk about my process for these kinds of intense weeks. I don't know if you can tell that I'm tired, but I'm super tired. Just spurred on by pure excitement in these weeks. I love it. These are just really exciting moments for me. It's mostly amazing, but it can also be frustrating. It's kind of like I have this vision of what I want to build, and I know I can build it. So every moment of the day, all I want to do is to work on making it come to fruition. And this week I got to the point where my hands were like literally hurting just from fatigue, mostly because my body was exhausted, just tired. But my brain has been on fire, and I needed to get through this rough, complete version of this idea so that I could just make that feeling get satisfied. And I've done that. So last night, basically my last late night this week, I got to a place where I'm like, yes, okay, this is fully expressed. It's very rough, but this is what I was shooting for. I can relax now and take a break. All right, guys, let's take a look at the demo here. So this is what the page loads at first, when it just first pops up. And I've decided to use my actual expenses here as the starting point for anybody, just to see something with actual data in it. We have our totals in the top. We can see where our money is being spent, and it breaks it out by expense. You can see tech is my biggest cost right now. And I see what's my recurring expenses, $118 a month. There's income, and then there's the totals view that we can take a look at. You kind of scroll down here and you can see the data broken out by month, so we can project into the future, how these numbers are going to change and evolve over time. So I've got things in here like my video production costs and my tech costs, my marketing, general business, stuff like that. And as I make changes to these numbers, so if I make this go up a little bit, or I can make this go up a few, I can arrow through these and actually make projections that change over time, so I can see my costs change. And so I can arrow through these really fast. I can hit enter to move my way through them. And so it makes it very easy, just like a spreadsheet, to kind of enter these numbers. But the real sweet thing is everything's automatically subtotaled for you. It's also projected out into the future. And then there's year-end summaries that are automatically tallied up for you, so you can see how things are going. And then I can flip over to the income tab. And right now I got nothing. So I've got my MRR as my category, and I've got Snaptro, and I got Project Unicorn listed as different types of income. And then I can flip over to my totals, and it's going to show me my profit and loss basically. So it takes a look at all my income, takes a look at all my expenses, and then I have my bank account balance, which is $634 right now. So when you look at this over time, it gives me 5.4 months of runway. And I can just play with these numbers to decide, what happens if I gain a little income. So what happens if, Snapchat starts doing $50 a month, and I can flip over to the totals here and see, well, now that gives me 9.3 months of runway. Same thing with the expenses. We can cut these down and say, maybe in December, let's say we drop MailChimp. That goes to 0. Maybe we incur some new expenses. So maybe we have like some AI generation tool that's part of our tech category. And let's say it's $23 a month. So then I can see that my costs go up here, flip over to my totals, and see how that affects it. So in October, November, when we get over here to December, we can see the changes. Our burn rate's gone up $6 from the last month. You can see the account balance dwindling down, and you can see where we actually die. We actually die here in June 2023 at this rate. I can do this for year-end totals as well, so I can look at the entire year, and I can even fast forward to the next year and see the change based on whatever projection data happens here. I also have this line item called one-offs for both expenses and income, and that's to capture things that don't really happen on a recurring basis. It happens just one at a time. So if you buy a domain, that's a one-time purchase, or if you have entertainment expenses, whatever it comes out to. And that's really important to track for the totals, but it does not affect your recurring costs, so it's not included in the burn rate calculation. And as you can see, this is where this all came from. This is my actual spreadsheet that I've been using up until now that does track all my expenses. So we've got my income and my expenses and my end of month balances on the bank account. And basically what I did was, and I always have a spreadsheet like this for all my ideas, even for my personal finances. So basically what I've done is I've taken a spreadsheet that really works for me, and I've used it many times in different scenarios, and I've turned it into a product. And I think that's really smart because I think that's shown me value in the past, and now I'm productizing it. A spreadsheet can be easy to mess it up. You have to do all those totals and calculations yourself, and now the app does all of this for you, and we can do some really cool things in the future with projections, like maybe you show MRR increasing 5% each month, and what does that do to your bottom line? I think there's a lot of potential here. I really want to see what people think of this, and then I can decide if it should be built on further or if it's another dead end. For whatever reason, personal finances and startup finances kind of excite me, and I think it's because understanding the flow of your money is critical to your personal freedom. So when I think about my personal runway and how much money we have to live as a family for however many months or years, that is the freedom to do big things. So when I know those numbers and when I know how long I have with something, it gives me that sense of confidence and that sense of freedom to really do some bold things. And that's why I'm doing what I am right now, and I haven't earned $1 yet. And also as a business, it's crucial to even make decisions. So there's certain decisions you can't make as a startup if your projections don't show you surviving to that point. So it helps you focus on the things that are most important to prioritize the right things. Understanding the flow of money in a simple way, not in a really detailed way, but in a simple way is crucial to making good business decisions. I also had an interesting idea on this front. What if I answered founders' questions or told startup stories and I use my product as a storytelling device? For instance, when you're deciding on pricing for your product, you should do projections to see if you can actually survive at those numbers. And if you can't, you need to kind of go back to the drawing board. So could I make videos or blog posts that kind of tell that story and then use the product to demonstrate it? That sounds pretty interesting to me. I mean, I love playing with numbers like this, so that's something I'm going to explore and see if maybe that's a content generator, that's a way to bring in the audience and convince them that this is a product that they might want to try. All right, you guys, that is it for this week. I'm going to tidy up a few more things, and then I'm going to start sending this link out for people who are able to take a look at something super rough and give some validation. So if you're one of those people, let me know. I'm hoping next week I'm going to have something that's a little more packaged. Let's just see how this feedback goes. See you next week.